Let's get to the Jets. They're reportedly trying to trade / cut Devante Adams. This one, not surprising. And I know they're trying to trade him, but they will not be trading him. They are going to cut him. He has a $35 million salary this season. No one's going to pick that up.
No.
Davante is 33 years old. He's not completely lost it, but he is not the Devante Adams that signed that contract. So he'll be cut. Where do you want him to land? Because if he's a Packer,
he doesn't have to move apartments if he plays for the Giants.
He's going to elevate to another plane.
If Aaron Rodgers ends up on the Giants, let's just run it back.
Dude.
But they're going to have to really rework that deal. I mean, they're going to have
it's going to be cut.
It's going to have the new deal.
Yeah, it's going to be honestly at this
what do you
point,
give a guy like Devante Adams?
2 years, 20, something like that.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. I just don't think he's getting, just because the injury risk at this point, the risk of falling off play, you really can't commit a big chunk. And I think it's also for him, it's just, dude probably wants a ring at this point. He had a big
go to Kansas City
with the Raiders. Yeah.
Him and Rashee Rice.
He's going to go to a contender though. We'll see.
He'll be an Eagle by the next week.
A lot more Jets news to get to, because the Jets are amongst two teams who have been rumored heavily to be in play to trade up to number 1 overall, along with the New York Giants. Benjamin Albright tweeted out that it was basically like he's hearing Giants are making a big push for number 1 overall. Pretty much everyone seemed to be on board with the Titans not being enamored with these quarterbacks. Surprising as that may seem, considering
what impresses you.
Well, yeah, considering what your other options will let us, all things considered. So
it's exciting.
Which one would you be more interested? Who do you think has more to gain by going after number 1 overall? Jets or Giants?
It's got to be the Giants.
Okay.
I just, there's a lot of unknown there with the new staff in New York, with the Jets, but with the Giants, you get Brian Daboll, and we've been waiting for him to have somebody that matches his ability to have some talent. Honestly, we haven't seen that from Daniel Jones. That's why things went so south, and it's also why I'm not batting an eye at the Aaron Rodgers possibility in New York, wearing blue instead of green. It would be an interesting change of tune there. But you get a guy like Cam Ward with Brian Daboll, and I'd be excited to watch what happens. You were just telling me that Cam Ward's all ball. Brian Daboll wants an all ball guy.
For the Giants specifically, I'm very intrigued by the idea of not only drafting a guy number 1 or number 3, but also signing one. I think really throwing the kitchen sink at quarterback after the Daniel Jones era is the route I'm taking. Just saying, I'm not going to go in empty-handed anymore. I'm not going to go in with freaking Drew Lock. I'm going to go in with Aaron Rodgers.
That's who you show up with, Drew Lock.
Yeah. Well, but you show up with Aaron Rodgers and Cam Ward next season. How are you feeling as a Giants fan?
Yeah.
You're elated.
Yeah.
You are on cloud 9. Ticket sales are through the roof.
I bet those two guys would get along great.
We'll see. I mean, I'm not predicting anyone to get along great with Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers loves ball too. As much
RFK Jr.
As much of a sideshow as Aaron Rodgers is, the guy is a football artist. He is a student of the game. He's somebody who is like, this has changed his life for the better. And you talk about Cam Ward being all ball and fishing, like maybe there's something in the water there, no pun intended, that could get these two guys linked up in the right way in the room, unlike Brett and Aaron.
Mm-hmm. If I'm Cam Ward too, I would watch Rodgers tape. That's a guy who you want to, because he's not,
makes it look easy.
And Rodgers isn't the Mr. Robotic in the pocket. He's very free and loose himself. But he knew how to harness it within structure still. So Cam Ward, not a bad guy to learn from, if that were to be the case. More Jets news. Did you see this from Josina Anderson reporting? And now this may not actually technically be Jets news, but she said this: I am disappointed to hear that a quarterback's coach from a team drafting in the top 7. So if you put top 7, you would, if it was a team drafting at 6, you wouldn't put probably top 7.
No.
If it was a team drafting at 5, you probably wouldn't put top 7. If it was a team drafting at 8, you would put top 8 or top 10. So if you put top 7, it's the Jets. who were drafting 7th overall, said referred to Shedeur Sanders as coming off brash and arrogant in his team interviews and making his assessment known to a number of people per source. I'm purposely not naming the team. Sure, Josina, as to not directly call the team out. I'm just sharing that this coach's personal assessment is the direct opposite from how Sanders came across to many reporters in his press conference with the media at the Combine. Sanders appeared to go out of his way to acknowledge multiple media members, regardless if they were recognizable or not. He seemed cordial, polite, witty, thoughtful, along with being confident, as many athletes are.
She's on the payroll.
Alternately, these observations were distinctly different from how any other quarterback prospect came off to some of the media members in Indy. And then she goes on to say about how it's like, unfair to publicize these things, when the irony is here that he was telling people privately she's the one publicizing these things. And well, you are a quarterback's coach making a decision for a quarterback that you're going to draft. It's okay to not like a guy and just say, I don't want to work with this guy. If you came across an interview and you didn't like him and you don't want to work with them, that's your that's your livelihood is the next 4 years. If you're the quarterback's coach, you're going to have to deal with this guy every day. And if you don't like him, it's okay to just say, I don't like him and I'm not going to draft him, in my opinion.
We got to be around a lot of the players that came in for pre-draft visits. So like some of the vets would always be in the building in the offseason, getting a lift in, getting a free lunch.
Yeah.
And you get to meet these guys from Alabama, from Georgia, from Arizona State, the next guy up, the next O-lineman up. And you get to meet some of these guys. And I remember meeting a guy like Quentin Nelson and just being enamored with the fact that not only did the film I watch of him from Notre Dame speak to me that he was going to be a Hall of Fame level player immediately, but when I met the guy, he was such a gentleman. He was just like an easy hang. That's not every player that comes into these buildings and takes visits. And I'm sure that the same experience happens in Indianapolis, where there are great players who may not match that with their personality or their ability to connect to members of the media or put their best foot forward socially. I watched some of the Shedeur Sanders stuff, and I understand that nobody can relate to this guy because primetime is his dad. He's the situation. It's not like primetime's his dad and he plays DB as well. He's the quarterback. He is the head honcho, the reason that people are buying tickets for these games. I understand why his confidence is so high. And also, if you're Deion's kid, are you going to be a quiet, humble guy? No, you have to lean into that a little bit because that's part of the whole. Yeah, it's part of the whole deal. You put a loud paint color on a Ferrari because it's a loud car. You know what I'm saying? You don't give it something boring. So I give him credit for the confidence and all that stuff. But I also understand that on the Jets side of things, or this top 7 quarterback coach side of things, that he's going to be like, hey, you know what? All that's well and good, but it's not for me. That's completely within their place as a coach or a talent evaluator.
And again, here's the thing.
Because some guys just don't want that distraction.
And I said, I was actually when I talked with Dylan Gabriel at Combine, he said something that I thought was very great perspective. He said, the people that care that I'm short at quarterback, I don't want to play for those teams. If the people that care about, Shedeur Sanders' whatever persona, he shouldn't want to play for those teams.
Yeah,
it cuts both ways. If you don't disagree, or if you don't have a mesh personality wise with someone, whether it's your boss or whether it's your subordinate in an organization, it ain't going to be, both people are going to be unhappy.
I see a guy like Mike McDaniel being able to empower a guy like Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
Somebody who's young in mind. You want the guy to have juice. You want your players' personalities to shine through. And believe it or not, I think Andy Reid would appreciate a guy like Shedeur Sanders because not only does he like good football players, he appreciates football history like nobody else. And what's more football history than primetime? And I think that having a guy like that, a talent like that, it's magnetic. You instill confidence in the players around you. And yeah, there's definitely going to be some teams that are like, hey, fuck that. We don't want any part of that. But there's going to be some teams that are on the other side of that say we need more of that.
Yeah. So we shall see. But
I'm excited to watch him play because he's like, I'm going to change your team. He's like, do you know who my dad is?
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, cringe a little bit. But at the same time, that's all he knows is that extreme confidence. And it's probably why he's got those giant diamonds around his neck and why his Colorado team was
how many diamonds
better.
did you show up to the combine with?
I didn't have any diamonds. I actually don't even have gold on my wedding ring. It's just a rubber ring.
I do just think, though, that this whole situation is hilarious, that a private conversation from a private interview we're getting upset about and making it public.
Yep.
Like you're the one making this public.
So did he make it public?
No, Josina Anderson made it public.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like you're getting mad at.
She got a story.
We tear these guys down when you're the one pushing.
She got a story. Good for Josina.
Well done.